And today's topic is how to get emotional freedom in no time. And my guest is Joanna Armstrong. She's an EFT practitioner, and I'm really excited about our conversation. Welcome.
Thank you, Annika. We're both Swedish, so we were
Yes,
saying earlier that there might be a bit of Swinglish
yeah.
happening.
We'll try to stick to English for everybody's benefit.
Exactly.
So I just want to give a proper introduction to Joanna before we get into this fascinating topic. So Joanna Armstrong is a certified EFT practitioner, and that stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and a mentor. She has spent 10 years helping her clients get freedom from emotional limitations and help them release cravings, anxiety, phobias, or other deeply unwanted feelings and stuck behaviors. Joanna loves simple and effective solutions for her clients. A few years ago, she began to make contact with an inner voice and a feeling of breathtaking love that filled her with wonderful happiness and joy. The freedom and happiness training, Bliss Joy, and the channeling of the love book are the results of that experience. And Joanna has a private practice in Stockholm, Sweden. So we're doing this early because it's afternoon where you are, right?
Yes, it's almost evening here.
Yes, almost evening. So yeah, so welcome again. And I'm really excited about this topic. I first came across EFT, I think it was like in 2003 or something. And I remember printing a big manual and I started doing tapping and things. And then I taught my husband, my kids were too young at the time, and we used it for a while, but then we kind of just got busy and forgot about it. But I've seen it and I know that it works. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about. First, I want to hear about your journey, how you became like an EFT pro, because I'm sure that's different from someone who just kind of dabbles on their own. And then we'll get into more about the power of EFT. So what's your story?
What is my story? This is my second life, if you will, because my first life was all about exterior happiness, if you will. So, what do I want to do when I grow up? So I ended up doing graphics. So I worked in the computer graphic industry, and I painted on the screen, and I created designs and logos, and but I still had this voice inside of me nagging me, if you will, or encouraging me to do something else. And eventually I felt that I needed to do something more meaningful, because this external happiness, buy this, buy that, go here, do this to be happy, it just wasn't resonating. So I started, as many of us, that the people that do alternative kind of treatments, we find it for our own sake.
Mm-hmm.
So I started with breath work. I trained as a breath work practitioner, but it was very slow. I thought breath work was exciting, and a lot of it was explosive. It was dramatic, but it took a while. It took a long time to get the transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept feeling that there must be something better, something quicker, something more efficient. And so I found EFT online and Gary Craig, and I didn't download the manual like you did, but I got very impressed and signed up for a course in Sweden. This man created his own tapping version, and I did that first before I did EFT, and it was so powerful and so simple that I just had to do more. And I found that it made such a big difference in my life and people's lives that I had to do this. I had to share this. This was my path.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked back, and this was, how long have I been doing this? 2009 I started.
12 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. And thank you for sharing your story. And I just want to pick up, and I'm not sure if everybody heard this, but this inner voice that starts kind of nagging us, it's often around 40, give or take a few years, that happens. And that's normal. It's a normal path for women's evolution. And you're not crazy. It's more like you're crazy if you don't have that. And because and you explained it so beautifully, that process, like we may be focused on the external things before them, but then we realize suddenly there's this desperate need for meaning, right? And it often means shifting careers. It may not always, but it often does. So I love hearing that story. And it sounds like you really found your thing. And I was reading on your website, your Swedish website, since I understand Swedish, and like it sounds like your clients are very, very happy with your work. So do you want to start, just in case people don't know what EFT is, just talk about when it started and just basically the foundation of how it works and how it can be so powerful.
Yes, it started a few years back, around 50, let's say my math, in the 70s.
Okay.
And it started with kinesiology, I think you say in English, and where the body talks to the mind and the body has an effect on the mind, and vice versa, of course. But before the 70s, it wasn't obvious that the mind and body spoke to each other. It sounds silly now,
yes,
but back then they were separated. You went to the doctor for the body, and you went to a shrink, a psychologist, a psychiatrist for the mind and emotions, mind and emotions. Whereas the body and the sickness and diseases and physical health was another department. Whereas here, where kinesiology is where you normally you can test it with your finger, or you can test it with arm strength, and you say, you ask the body to give you an answer. Should I eat this vegetable? You might be holding the vegetable or by your heart, and you ask the question. So you're asking the universe, the cell, memory. I'm not exactly sure who you're asking and how this works, and I don't think science really has the answers yet. Metaphysics is the science that is working on the answers, but they found that the body gave you a response, and that process was they also tapped a little bit on the body, and so the first systematic process was actually called what? I just dropped it. Yeah, I dropped it.
It's okay. You can.
We'll have to fill it in later. But there was a very complicated. There was a very complicated method before EFT, and EFT was made to be a self-help method. So Gary Craig wanted to create something that he could spread to the world, because it was so important and so efficient that everyone should be doing this. And as you know, you can download a manual, you can learn to do it on your own, and it might work to a certain degree. And depending on who you are, it can work to a higher or lesser degree. If you're used to working on yourself, it might work better than if you're a novice at working on your own or on yourself, and then it will maybe not work so great. So I say that it's a self-help method to 50%. So either you can use EFT on your own, emotional freedom techniques, in plural actually,
Okay.
on your own, or if you feel that it's working kind of maybe a bit, go and see someone, because don't feel that there's something wrong with the method.
Mm-hmm.
It might just, in spite of its simplicity, it might, there might be a little tweak that you can't find on your own.
So the actual thing that we're doing, there's tapping involved, right? But what are we tapping on?
Right. So the reason I emphasize that it's emotional freedom techniques
Mm-hmm. I
is
appreciate that you're clarifying that, because I
right,
always thought it was a technique.
exactly. It is a technique containing other techniques. So
Okay.
yes. So the tapping is kind of the visual, the demonstrative, the hyped up kind of a or dramatic thing, which you see immediately, because what you do is you tap on certain acupuncture points.
Okay, so it's the meridians, is that correct?
Yes,
Or?
yes. So the points are chosen are the end points that will give you the most effect for the least effort.
Okay. And just in case somebody hasn't heard the word meridian before, maybe you want to just explain what that is.
It's Chinese, the Chinese medical thought of the Chinese think or believe that we have energy fields. Most people know of the veins and the blood fields, the bloodstream and the blood.
Like arteries and veins and all that. So.
Yes, that's a system that is spread throughout the whole body.
Mm-hmm.
But the Chinese believe that there's an energy system similar to the blood vein system and layout, if you will, that needs to be flowing properly. And it's lines, basically, the same way that the blood lines run a certain way. These energy lines run a certain way, and they need to be running. They need to be flowing. There needs to be circulation in these lines. And when you tap, you tap on the end points, so you don't have to tap on every single acupuncture point along these meridians, along these lines.
Okay, so that was important what you just said. So it's the same energy, I guess, lines, or I'm looking for another word, but it's the same that acupuncturists used, but they may go into the middle of these lines, but you would go on the end points. Okay, because I can also visualize when you describe it, we've seen these sort of stylized images of the human body, and sometimes they draw in the blue and the red arteries and veins, and then they may also draw in nerves and all that. So there would be like another outline of the meridians, which are the energy pathways, that's what's the word I was looking for. Yes. And so that would be, it basically goes through the body, and just like our nerves need to have connection all through, and our blood needs to flow all the way through, it's the same thing with the not visible to the eye, but they're, I guess, in TCM or traditional Chinese medicine, they were able to discern these energy pathways thousands of years ago, right? And it was the foundation for acupuncture. But then in the 70s, they discovered that you can actually influence this energy flow in other ways. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay,
that's
good.
A good summary.
Yeah.
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 And I remembered the original system before EFT was called thought field therapy.
Okay, I never heard of that. That's interesting.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes. So and that was very complicated, because you would tap and treat the person in a very particular way depending on what the issue was. So if you were afraid of dogs, you would tap on a certain way. If you had an issue with your neighbor, you would tap on another way. So it was very, very complicated.
I can see that can become very long list if you're going to cover every human condition, right?
Exactly. Well, it's like a doctor. A doctor gives you this pill for this issue and that pill for that issue.
Mhm.
And it was that kind of a thought pattern that you have to treat it. Yeah. But Gary Craig, I think maybe because he was a pastor and engineer,
Mhm.
so the engineer in him wanted to simplify it, and the pastor in him wanted to spread it to the world.
I
So
like that.
he created this thing. But so basically, you tap on these certain points, on acupuncture points, and when you do that, you release, or you reduce rather, your stress level up to
Mhm.
60%. So just by tapping and you breathe and you kind of focus, you reduce your stress. So if you do nothing else, tap and breathe, and you start feeling better. But then, of course, if you have an issue that you kind of need to go deeper into, it might not just be stress, although all the issues we have feel like a stress to the body, and you might
Yeah.
either feel it uh, cognitively, or sometimes it's so ingrained that you don't even understand that you're stressed. But the stress is also always a component.
I think that's so important what you said about like the body can only use so many words, right? And stress and pain is like it can be, the headaches can have like many reasons, right? And the same thing with stress, you can have so many different root causes.
Yeah.
What you said, that we may not even realize we're stressed, because what's so common these days that we get stuck in this fight or flight mode, because we're living lives like the 24/7 365 lifestyle, where we never really actually bring our nervous system down to proper rest and digest. So people may not even realize. So, which is means once you start paying attention to this, it can be a profound shift once you're able to turn that nervous system being stuck, right? So in sympathetic, which is the same as fight or flight. You want to be in parasympathetic, which is rest and digest.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So is it the same sequence for everything?
Exactly. And that's what
Oh.
Gary Craig did. He simplified it, and he made sure that, well, again, compared to the thought field process, which was super complicated, he
Mhm.
figured that if you tap on a few points that you don't need to tap on, then so be it. There
Yes.
are so few points. It's not such a big program. So if you tap on too many points, it's irrelevant.
It's
So
better to tap
it's
on one point too many than one
and
point too few, right?
exactly. So
Yeah.
instead of complicating it, let's tap on too many, and then there'll be a bonus maybe.
Yes.
And according again to the Chinese medicine, why not? Like it helps clear something maybe that you are not working on. It might clear something again that maybe is starting to happen, or it's subconscious, or whatnot. But it's anyway, the simplification was the point.
It
So
sounds like this can be really good, just basic self-care,
mhm,
even if you don't feel like you have a big issue, but it will
yeah,
keep things in maintenance. Can it be used for maintenance as well as more acute issues?
absolutely. And it can be used for people that have a hard time meditating.
Ah,
It's very good because you're doing something. The problem with meditation is that you're not doing anything, and you're used to doing so much. You're used to running lists in your head, and you're used to all kinds of stuff. So the biggest challenge people have when they start meditation is that they have a hard time just sitting still.
and I would imagine that if you find yourself in that situation and you do the tapping, it's going to reduce your stress. I think you said up to 60%, right?
Yes,
So it would
exactly.
be probably a lot easier to meditate after doing
Exactly.
the tapping. So it's
Right.
like a bridge almost, right? So
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
that's great. But
So
then, yeah,
yes,
go ahead.
so we tap. That's one thing. That's one kind of protocol.
Mhm.
But then we use EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprogramming. I always forget what it stands for.
Yeah, because I remember the eye rolling.
Yes.
But I've only heard of EMDR and thought of that as something that came much later. Is that
right?
correct?
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure about EMDR when it came into EFT, but I'm pretty sure they had it when Gary Craig
Okay.
was well, included it. Whereas when thought field therapy, with thought field therapy, they might not have used EMDR.
Okay.
I'm actually not sure. Yeah, I think Gary Craig added it. And again, that's why it's called emotional freedom techniques.
I'm starting to see that now. And I think I interrupted you. You're about to say a third one. Is that correct?
Well, another one is, there's several that are part of the basic EFT package. And then of course, every practitioner with time, because this was, in the 70s. So with time, other practices have been included in the mix. I usually say that they are using the most delicious raisins from several delicious cakes. That's like a Swedish expression.
Yes.
It's, instead of just using one cake and taking the raisins from it, they're using several cakes, several therapies, and they've taken the best out of these therapies that are therapies in their own right.
Yes. So you mentioned that you did breathwork training before EFT. So as someone who's trained in that, is that something you use in your practice as well? Or?
Well, the breath work is part of EFT as well.
Okay. So it's overlaps.
Yes, exactly. So breathing is definitely part of it. That's also a method in its own right. You can heal all kinds of things just by choosing how you breathe. And exhalation is a calming breath. If you inhale, that gives you energy. So if you want to calm down, if you want to relax, if you want to focus, start exhaling. So absolutely, that's part of what we do.
It's funny you say that, because I've found myself, especially during the last few weeks when I've been busy with this event, that I've been like doing these long exhales. And my husband thinks I'm sighing. I said, no, I'm just exhaling. I just do it, I guess, because I feel like I need to focus and calm myself, right? So it's been like almost instinctual behavior. So
yeah, exactly. So, and what else do? We visualize. So we also say things. So that's kind of, well, self-fulfilling prophecies, if you will, or self realization sentences, where we go in and we admit. So there's acceptance therapy as well. So we admit and accept the issue. So we will say, although I have a fear of the neighbor's dog, I'm okay. And I'd rather see the dog in this way. And then you visualize how you want to meet the dog and how you want to act and feel the next time the dog shows up.
Okay. Yeah, no, this is, as you're layering these things on, you can see there's so many powerful techniques, because yesterday we were talking about affirmations, and it sounds like this is a type of affirmation.
Yes, except I just want to kind of point to the fact that affirmations are a bit tricky.
Yes, we learned that yesterday.
Okay, so I'll just say it again.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So like saying that I want this, I want this, and I want this, but part of you is feeling, no, that's not going to work. That it might work for them, but it's not going to work for me. And if you have a little voice saying that, then it doesn't matter how much you say, I want this, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. So that's why we say, although I don't feel so good, we admit it. And again, this is ACT, acceptance therapy. Although I feel this, although I'm afraid of this, although I feel silly, goofy, although I'm ashamed of making something wrong or doing something wrong, I'm okay. I'd rather see myself, I'd rather meet this person that I was, said something silly to, or stepped on their toes. Next time I meet them, I'd rather meet them. And then there's the visualization and the affirmation, if you will.
Yeah, it sounds like the although is a way to make sure that our subconscious is playing along, right? So it doesn't go, no, that's not true. Exactly. We're not going to do that. So yeah,
exactly. And then there's the you put a light to the fact that the words are important. So word choices, I don't know if that's a therapy in itself, but if you start feeling that, no, that does not resonate, then no, you can't say that. You can't visualize that. As soon as you feel some sort of discomfort about, well, then you can't, you're not ready to meet the person who you stepped on their toes. You might have to, although I stepped on their toes, I'm okay. And I'd rather send them an SMS. Oh yeah, that feels good. I can send them an SMS. So then you picture that and you train that. It's okay. I'll be okay. I can, or send them a letter or today I guess a text message or an email.
Yeah. Yes, so same as text message.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to go back to how we started and how I don't see this as being a self-help method to 100%, but just to 50 is exactly for these reasons, because people might not understand that, oh, this is a resistance. No, this is not right. I need to find a way around it. I need to find something that works for me and that I can accept and use 100%.
No, it sounds like it's really important that you get the buy-in from your subconscious, but then that you're also able to, in your conscious mind, visualize what you want and hold that image. Otherwise, if that's too far from where you are to where you want to be, you have to kind of dial it back a little bit, and maybe it's a baby step thing, right? So yeah, and being aware of where you are, right? Yeah.
And nowadays, speaking of the modern methods that are added into the EFT pot, there's something called EFT matrix now.
Oh.
So that is more the metaphysical inclusion of things, because nowadays we used to not even understand that, like I mentioned, that the body and mind talk to each other. But now we're starting to understand that there's something else around us, something metaphysical, something, a feeling, a spirit, who knows? There's no evidence yet, but that is being included in EFT matrix. So you envision and sense and feel yourself as a younger child, or your mother, you sense your mother's energy, or maybe you are aware of previous lives. So then you can go into previous lives and heal your whatever's going on in this life.
Oh, that's fascinating. I had no idea about that. And it makes so much sense if we're thinking about, the evolution. And I think in the last 50, 70 years, it's like we've been forced, because of where we are as a collective humanity, we've been forced to turn on all these senses that are, super senses, like beyond the regular 5 senses. And it seems like the EFT and how it has evolved is mirroring that, right? First it added the mind, and now it's adding all this other the metaphysical components. So It makes so much sense. And yeah, is that something you are using in your practice?
Yeah, because it's and that is probably part of what's happened to me.
I was just going to say, I see the connection with your love thing there. Yeah, I just
exactly. Because when I had children, or when I started having children, I have two sons, and when I was pregnant, I started having these extra sensory, extra perceptional, metaphysical experiences.
yes.
And I started, getting interested in that. And yes, so on my personal private journey, I've understood a lot of amazing things and been connected, and I'm like having some talks with something, and I think it's fascinating. And so I definitely understand the matrix, EFT matrix edition, because it makes perfect sense, because there's so many people that also understand it and feel something. And we're all on different levels of evolution, self-evolution, and global evolution, and we have a role. And it's just fascinating, and we can talk for hours about this.
Yes.
But yes, but so that's my personal kind of road to understanding how important it is.
Yeah,
So I mean, I work very fingertoppskänsla. What's that in English? I kind of try to sense and feel what the person needs. It's
like for each person, you're able to discern what they need, like because you're able to tune in, I guess,
exactly
to what that person needs. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So depending what issue they have and where they are, I can use this or that, or mention something, or maybe even open them up to a new possibility or whatnot. But some people have even come to me with past life issues, and I wasn't advertising that, but they kind of were sent to me, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
And
that's very interesting.
Yes, very interesting.
And I can also imagine that it seems like there's a path. Somebody may come to you because in a moment I want to talk about like the things like the anxiety and the fears and all those things that may send someone to you to start with. But then as you start working with them, it's like it's a tool that allows them to speed up their evolution, right? And then maybe start using the matrix. And I'm just curious, when you incorporate the matrix, is that another phrase you're using that you design specifically for the issue, like an additional phrase, or what does it look like in the practice?
Well, again, I kind of sense where the person is, and because when I meet a person, they tell me what's going on and where they are, and what they've done before, what they've tried before. So I get an idea of, well, roughly where they are. And then let's see, like if someone comes for a simple thing, having a sweet tooth, eating too much sugar and they can't stop, that might not necessarily be something where the matrix comes in. You might not need the matrix. You might just need to visualize yourself home alone, being single or divorced or having trouble, and you're sitting in front of the telly and you're bored. So instead of fixing the boredom by doing something good for you, you are trying to fix the boredom the easiest way you know how to. And sugar, unfortunately, is an upper, and it's easy and pleasant, and that forbidden fruit that too many people, for ease sake, use, whereas they would probably feel even better if they took a walk or called a friend, or so they're in a downward spiral. But if someone sometimes the person has a sweet tooth because their darling grandmother died, and she was the person in their life that supported the person, and no one else supported the person. So it's a huge trigger and huge sorrow, and that might be a case where the matrix comes in.
Okay.
We might start talking about the grandmother, her worldly life, how she was and how they interacted, the client and the grandmother. And then we might start discussing, where is she now, for example? What would she want to tell you now? How do you envision her on the other side? And all kinds of like otherworldly or spiritual. I know this is next week, but
No,
that
it
kind
all
of
depends,
part of,
right? So,
yes,
yeah.
exactly. So it's kind of you yeah, that would be a way that might be brought in with such a simple thing as, having difficulty saying no to sweets.
Yeah, because there's stronger emotions and they can handle when the grief of the loss. So it's a way to kind of get those emotions to a bearable point.
Yeah.
But they're not going to go away unless you kind of open that door. And through the matrix process, which sounds like it's a communication, it's like a conversation with yourself or with your higher self to
Exactly.
find peace. Is that correct? With
And
guidance?
also maybe get that feeling of
Yeah.
grandma being here.
Yes,
Like,
it's not lost.
exactly. She
Yes.
is in body, she's not here, but I can feel her spirit. I can sense her. So that is a way that I might, suggest that, feel it, try it, see if you are ready for it. And again, it's very tailored to the person and whether they're open for it. But I can kind of tell, the
Yeah.
way it
Yeah.
is in the words and their attitude about these things.
Okay, so you basically add another phrase or a few more words to the part that you say when you do the tapping sequence.
Well, first of all, those phrases, they are, they're kind of, they're the first step in learning the method.
Yes, I remember that's like a fill in the blank kind of sentence.
Right. But as you're working deeper, you don't have to keep saying things. You don't have to like rattle off all these sentences all the time.
Okay.
So it's almost as if the deeper you go, the less you do those sentences. Because then you go over and you do this other thing, which is, we haven't mentioned it yet, which is cellular memory transformation. So we put our feelings and memories into our cells. Cellular biologists are talking about that each little cell has like a little brain in it, a little memory cell. Like we, I mean, if you see someone get punched in the arm on TV for some reason, you might remember and actually almost feel it because you also got punched by that horrible kid in daycare or primary school or something. So you can, like, you have a memory of it. And all our feelings, we store things in the body as well.
Yes.
So you see a horror movie and you like shrivel up inside and your stomach gets tighter and you don't breathe any longer, like your breathing slows down and almost stops. And so that memory, the feeling in the body gets activated when you think of something. So we practice the feeling. We practice feeling the tightness, or rather we're desensitizing it, like we practice desensitizing it. It's not such a dangerous thing. It's not so bad to feel the tightness. it's not dangerous that you're not breathing. You won't like die. It's not lethal.
Mm-hmm.
It feels awkward. It feels awful. Um, but it's not dangerous. It feels dangerous, but it's actually not. So we're practicing the feeling. So think of grandma, think of the fact that she's died, she's not here. How does that feel in your body? I get a cramp, my stomach hurts, my back might hurt, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're breathing through it. We're connecting with the feeling. We're accepting the feeling. So we're back to acceptance therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's not such a big deal. And then it's okay. And oh, look, I don't feel so bad thinking of grandma because now the thought isn't triggering the feeling in the body. And so we do a whole bunch of things intermixed. We tap, we use the eye motions, we feel, we visualize. So it's a natural kind of intermixed process that one thing goes into the next. Um, and then maybe the last thing, let's see, what time do we have? Yes, the last thing I can mention is the last method I can mention is that we also do interference. I don't know if that's a therapy in itself either, but when you are stuck, you're basically self-hypnotized, you could say. Oh, that person, that neighbor is so horrible. That neighbor is so horrible. Oh, that every time you see that neighbor, every time you think of the neighbor, oh, he's so horrible. She's so horrible. So it's a self-hypnosis. So what we do is we change the pathways of thinking to go in a different direction. Well, maybe they have a reason for being that way. Maybe they've had a bad day and that's why they're so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they are sick and have an illness and that's why they're so bad and so spiky and not nice to me. Maybe I remind them of a person that they grew up and being bullied by. It could be all kinds of reasons. So you open up to realize that maybe it's not about me at all.
I like what you're saying, because it sounds like you want to stop yourself from being judgmental, right? So, because when we're judging, we're putting ourselves in the center, whether we realize it or not, right? And we think it's all about it, but then we realize you see the other person as a human being and not as an obstruction for you or something. So that's very powerful. And I just want to go back to your cellular memory, and because that was very powerful, how we're able to desensitize ourselves to things that otherwise may become avoidance behaviors, right? So we go around, we want to avoid it. We may end up doing things that are harmful to us because we don't want to go there. Whether it's an emotion or it's something we're avoiding that could limit our ability to move around in the world, right? So that can be and our body can't really tell if something is happening for real, because you said about when you see a scary movie, it feels real because we get scared, our heart rate goes up. And for good and bad, right? But because of that, we're also able to reprogram the response, right? Sorry.
And the reason that EFT can help and does help so many issues. We can come for, fear of dogs, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, being hurt, being we're not allowed to heal the body, but you can actually get healing, physical healing as well. And the reason it's so good for so many things is because the main basic component that is the same for all of these things is that the feeling you're feeling is what you don't want. You don't want the feeling of being afraid. You don't want the feeling of being angry. You don't want the feeling of being having sorrow. So it's really a feeling thing in the bottom. And that's why when we do these changes, But the interference therapy or process is that we might clap, we might count, we might do things so that, or it would look like this. You're in the process, we're talking, and you might be thinking about your grandma, and all of a sudden I'll tell you to clap, and your brain gets confused. When your brain is confused, it wants an answer. It's like really, really eager to find some sort of calm or truth, like stability or yeah. And so it's looking for the first best answer you can give it. So after you've clapped, you quickly go over to visualizing something you would rather have, for example.
So it sounds like you, as soon as you catch yourself consciously doing some behavior you want to interrupt, it's like an interrupt, right? When you clap, and that's an opportunity. Then you think ahead, so you know ahead of time what you want to visualize, so you can do it really quick. Or is it like you figure it out on the spot?
You want to program yourself basically with something better.
Yes.
With a better thought, with a better picture, with a better, a nicer truth, like a not just nicer, but truer truth, because your feelings and your troubles are usually not the truth.
I love that you say that, because it's something it's a story we've made up, right? It may have parts of what the truth,
exactly,
and like this same event have recounted very differently from different people, because everybody reacts, and there's so much that's subjective in our experience of something. So, and we can tweak that's very powerful. Yeah.
Because the person that is sitting at home eating candy or feeling the loss starts feeling lonely. There's no one else, no one loves me, I don't have any friends, I have no more support. Not true.
It becomes a narrative, right? So
a billion people in the world. Pick one, go and find a new one. Go and start turning stones, start remembering the people that you might have not called in a while. Or so it's not the truth usually, the thing that you're worried about or that is having you to feel really bad about something.
Yeah, this is such a powerful, and I love how there's so many layers to it. It's so much more complex than I ever realized. But how long does it take? Because I know you talk about in your bio too, like people often come for anxiety, phobias and things. How long does it take for a person to often resolve something?
On average, when you have a phobia, 4 or 5 sessions.
And then there's homework, I imagine, right? So
yeah, you get some homework if you want, but if you're too stressed, there's no homework, because that shouldn't add to your issues. Some people are done in 1 session, some people need 6.5. So it varies, but most people, 90%, feel better within the first minutes. Just starting this process, just even admitting that this is what I'm struggling with, and that's the acceptance therapy again. Just admitting to yourself that, shucks, I'm not really good at this. I made a boo-boo there. I should have. I could be better. I could, like admitting your weaknesses and making the decision to do something about it shifts things immediately. You start, like, things are happening, releasing. So in 10 minutes, people can start feeling better and start shifting out of what they've been struggling with for years.
And it holds? So does it come back? It needs maintenance, or?
Well, it depends on what it is.
So
again, if you do it on your own, it might not hold as well as when you do it with a professional. If you you might get to a certain level. Oh, great. Now it feels better. It's not good. It just feels better. So you might need to tap some more to really feel good about something. So it's hard to say, depending on who's doing it and all of that. But generally, the average need is 4 to 5 sessions.
And how long is the session?
Personally, I meet with a person for 90 minutes first, just to like have a little extra time in the beginning, and then we'll meet for 50-minute sessions. And we talk, we look at what's happened, what's left to do, what did you realize,
All that, yeah.
But
And
if
if you
someone,
do it at home, how long would it take to do the whole tapping
if you
sequence?
did it yourself,
Yeah, how long would it take? How much? The people say, I don't have time for this, but it doesn't take that long, right?
5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
If you do it as a self-help kind of a practice. And I have a free guided tapping that your viewers or the people watching this get to join in on.
Yeah, that's Joanna's gift in the giveaway, and it's called Get Emotional Relief on the Spot. That's aptly named. So yeah, tell us about that and what they get when they sign up for your gift.
Yes, I guide them. It's like you follow my directions, and it's set up in such a way. It's an open, the wording we said, those sentences are set up in such a way. They're open phrases, so you can kind of fill in your issue. So that would look kind of like, although I feel like this, and now this, well, whatever it is that you're feeling, I'm okay. Although this is not feeling great, again, this, I would rather feel like that. And then you just fill in whatever it is that you are having an issue with. And it's remarkable. It's so, I mean, I've been doing this for 12 years, and I still get amazed that it works online in the recording, like months after I've recorded the thing, people can get help, and it's just really, really amazing.
Yeah, so that answers sort of my next question. So you don't have to go see you in your practice in Stockholm to get help from you. People can work with you online.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I see people online, kind of like we're interacting right now. I would interact with a client and be more specific about something. So typically what happens is that a person starts feeling better, then they might not get enough or go deep enough or understand themselves enough. So something is still missing. They take, we meet up like this, and I can target their issue much better and give them specific homework if they want homework, or work with their targeted, detailed areas that need addressing.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. You said you can make a recording for somebody that they targeted to their needs, that they can watch whenever they feel like they need a booster. Is that?
Exactly. So instead of the general one that they can start with, that anyone can start with, they will get the words that they react to, that mean something to them. They're loaded, if you will. So again, even the words we desensitize. So a lot of people can't say, I love myself, for example. No, I don't. What, do I? That's loaded. I'm okay tends to work for most people, or sometimes that's not even okay. Sometimes that's too much of an issue. I'm not okay. I don't feel okay with myself. Okay. Then we go to, well, I'm looking forward, or that might be too strong. I'm hoping to see a change in myself. So words are important.
So you have to meet the person where they are. So it's true for them where they are at that moment.
Exactly.
To kind of get a traction for the rest of the treatment too. to work,
Exactly.
to
And
get that subconscious playing along, right? So,
right. And
and
again, that is why some of these follow alongs don't always work, because the person can't accept that
yeah,
they're okay even.
yeah.
So
This is
don't disregard the method. Um, Contact a practitioner to kind of get to the core of things where you're stuck, and then you can maybe work on your own if you want.
yeah,
But
no, I think this has been so helpful, and I've learned so much that I had no idea, because I did this like so long ago, and it was such a, I guess, superficial way of doing it. So I'm definitely going to go back, because I have a fear of snakes, and I think I'm going to work on that. Because it's actually holding me back sometimes. I don't want to go for walks in the woods. So I keep thinking about it. Could there be a snake here? You know, it's like,
exactly.
that would be a good one to work on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And do you have any final words? And while you share that, I just want to see if we have any questions. We've had some delay with Facebook. I'm just going to refresh the page while you share some final words of advice, or people to
Yes.
get started.
Final words of advice: don't let yourself don't accept not feeling good. Don't just like feel okay. And now I'm actually going into my Blissy Joy love training.
Yes, do share that.
Love is such a huge, powerful, it can move mountains, and it sounds a bit cliche, but a love don't settle for an okay life.
Yeah.
Do something, find someone, join someone that can lift you and give you a wonderful life. Maybe not perfect, I mean, perfection, what's that? But a
It's not
wonderful life.
real, right? So
So even happy people have days that aren't so sunny, but their non-sunny days are on a much more elevated and lighter and easier to live with place than when you don't have this training and when you don't allow yourself happiness and love. So don't settle.
I love that. That's a really good way to end. So thank you again for being here. And yeah, I hope everyone checks out your gift, get emotional relief on the spot in the giveaway. And yeah, thank you so much. I know I'm gonna dig into this. Yeah.
Yes. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for
Take
having me
care.
and for
Bye.
doing this. Bye.